The Red Wings cannot pass up this opportunity, as an NHL insider has revealed a player in a position of need for the Red Wings has just become available, and this changes everything for the Red Wings trade plans heading into this year's trade deadline as they look to acquire a big fish and make a hard push for this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. Welcome everybody into the first official episode of Red Wings Digest. I'm your host, Darius Domingues, joined by my co-host, Mark Pye. And Mark, let's get right into it. The player, of course, we are talking about is Justin Faulk from the St. Louis Blues. And you can see this from Elliotte Friedman. The St. Louis Blues want, and make no mistake about it, Justin Faulk is on the trade block. He will be traded at this year's deadline, or at least it looks that way. He has one more year left on his deal. And I think this is an attractive piece for the Red Wings because it's in a position, again, like I said, of need. We'll get to that in a little bit. But the St. Louis Blues, want a return like a Rasmus Andersson return. And keep in mind, he was traded for a first round pick, a conditional second that becomes a first, and Zach Whitecloud, and a prospect as well. So a big return. That would be a lot of pieces going back from the Red Wings to the Blues. Mark, what do you make of this? I think it does make sense. We'll get more into that in a second as well, but this would be a hefty return for the Red Wings.
I mean, the big thing with the Red Wings, we know this is a team that's finally falling into place. You have a bunch of young guys stepping up. You have the veterans of this team. The team is coming together, and it's why they're one of the best in the entire NHL. And the big thing with adding Faulk has been a huge part of this team. But with that pay, it seems like it could be rich at the end of the day. Now, Rasmus Andersson, a little younger than Faulk, but a UFA at the end of this. Vegas traded for that guy with the hopes that maybe he will sign.
But before we get too far into today's video, this video is brought to you by Kelsi. When you download Kelsi using the link in the description and using promo code DIGESTNHL, you get $10 when you trade your first $100. And Kelsi is the US's largest prediction market where users can trade event contracts peer-to-peer rather than against a sports book. And it's now live in all 50 states, so whether you're in California, Texas, or right here in Detroit, Michigan, you can start using Kelsi. And Mark, there's a big weekend coming up in sports, just a few weekends away, and that of course is the Super Bowl. And a lot of people are trading on the Seattle Seahawks, and they are on a mission. It looks like they're going to do it. I have a hard time trading on the New England Patriots, but what are your thoughts on the Super Bowl coming up?
I mean, yeah, that's perfect. You can trade on Seattle. You can see all the odds right there on the screen. Listen, I'm fully in on Seattle. We're not going New England over here. And it's even better where you can go in and you can trade on multiple things. $100 get you 148 in return if going in on Seattle. And they also have game outcomes, in-game things. There's so much to trade on with Kelsi.
Yeah, and it's just a better way to optimize your sports and news knowledge, and it's a regulated market that you can close positions at any time. So go down below, download the Kelsi app in the description using the link in the description, and use promo code DIGESTNHL. And a very special thank you to Kelsi for sponsoring this video.
Faulk coming on that extra year with 6.5 against the cap, I think it would be the perfect role if the Red Wings look at this guy and value him in the sense of, hey, this is someone that can stay on this team for the next 2 seasons. We're going to make those push. He's not going to halter any development of the young guys on the back end. And just looking at the stats series, as we said, this is a guy that's going up and putting up those points. He's not only leading the defensemen in scoring on the Blues, but he's among the top out of all players when looking at their total scoring. This is a guy that has been forced into a role of a defensive defenseman, but his offensive output with that contract plus the defensive edge, I think it's an intriguing piece, especially if they're fully committed on adding that top 4 right-handed defenseman.
And I want to get into in a second how he fits into the Red Wings lineup and why this makes sense. And I've seen a lot out there on Twitter. A lot of people do want to add a second pairing defenseman, but you bring up a lot of really good points. First of all, on the Blues this year, not a very good team. He's one of the leading scorers on that team, period, not just defenseman, period. He's had a fantastic season. And you bring up another really good point as well, and that is the cap situation. He makes $6.5 million. There's going to be retained salary involved because the Blues are headed for a retool. They're going to retain some type of salary on this if they want all the assets in return, if they want a similar package to the Rasmus Andersson one, of course. Now, the Red Wings have a plethora of cap space. They can absolutely make this work. They can make this work tomorrow, but you also have to think about the future and what type of assets you're giving up, which we'll get to in a second as well. But Again, they have all the cap space in the world. Mark, do you have any thoughts on the cap situation and how adding Justin Faulk will affect that? Because the cap's going up a lot, almost $10 million every season after this season, or I guess, from last summer as well. So they can definitely afford this. He has one more year left, so you'll love to see that term as well. I think this makes the Red Wings a better team because Justin Faulk kind of plays into Todd McLellan's style as well. He's an aggressive guy. You get another booming shot from the point as well, another threat from the back end that not too many teams have now in the NHL. I think it makes sense, and the salary could work as well.
And I think the big thing is, listen, the retained cap is, in a perfect world, makes sense. You want to go out, you want to get him cheap. If you can get him at $3.5 million, that's an absolute steal, not only this year, but the next 2 seasons. But I do think at the end of the day, you can make this work under the cap without the retention. If you can get the retention for a 4th or a 5th round pick, sure, go for it. But I wouldn't give up big draft capital or another prospect in order to bring this guy in a half retained. Call me crazy, but I think him at 6.5, especially the way he's playing on a team that can't score right now in St. Louis, with those numbers, if he joins this high offense team that can go out, pot those goals, have those guys that are taking over in the big moment, I think it's almost fine to take him at the 6.5, with especially the cap world going up 10 million each season starting next year.
Full disclosure, I think with where the Red Wings are at right now and where the Atlantic Division is at right now, I would do it. And I want to take a look at this. This is what the blue line currently looks like. I think this guy's an upgrade on Travis Hamonic. He is, right, at the end of the day, right? So it makes you that much better going into the playoffs in a position where it looks like right now, you don't know what's going to happen with Tampa, but it looks like the Red Wings have a real shot at winning the division and having home ice, right? So you want to take advantage of certain things like that. And you'll have Faulk. I know he's a little bit older, but you have so many young players coming up through the system as well, like Axel Sandin Pellikka, right? Like, you're okay for the future in terms of defensemen. I wouldn't be worried about that. But then it's the forward group and what you're giving up. When you look here, I think a lot of teams are asking for Kasper, right? So it really depends on what they're asking for. That is a hefty package, but I think Justin Faulk could be had for a little bit less than that. So it'll be interesting. Let us know how you feel about all of that in the comments. Now, of course, the Red Wings play tonight. I want to get into some stuff on that as well. Their record this year compared to last year, Mark, unbelievable. You can see the comparison here from December and January, the last couple seasons. This team is for real this year, right? They are no longer in a rebuild stage. This team is firing on all cylinders, and some of the younger stars that we've been talking about the last couple of years have come into their own. So any thoughts on this team as well? I want to get into an injury update before we wrap up as well, but any thoughts on the team so far this year? Because they've been really impressive, and I also have a really ridiculous stat I want to bring up in a second as well.
I mean, previous to this year, obviously, it was a little disappointing season after season, but now seeing that jump, the numbers speak for itself. This is a completely new team that has came out of the gates, and we've talked about it constantly off camera, Darius. This is a team where it's not only just the veterans stepping up, the goaltenders, John Gibson being one of the best in the NHL over a stretch of games, but it's also these young guys making the impact, and it falls back onto the Faulk thing, where I wouldn't want to move one of these impact guys. If it's someone not in the league now, yeah, sure, you can move on from it, but it just shows that everything this team is doing, from the rookies to the veterans, to the goaltenders, the defensemen, everything is coming together, and honestly, there's a good reason why they're so damn high in the standings at this point.
Yeah, and you can take a look at the standings here, right? Second in the Atlantic as it stands at this point in time, at the time of recording. Buffalo Sabres, crazy season. I can't believe they're there. But the Red Wings have been fantastic. Now, in terms of some other stuff before we wrap up here, obviously making big news yesterday, some injury updates, but I want to get to this first. And this is from Detroit Hockey 96. Stupid stat of the day. The Red Wings are unbeaten all time in games they played on January 27th against the Los Angeles Kings when it's their 28th home game of the season. Talk about cherry pick stats. Just wanted to bring that up. I thought that was fun today as well. And obviously Todd McLellan yesterday. Any thoughts on this, Mark, too? Because this is pretty significant and kind of plays towards maybe they go out and trade for Justin Faulk, right? Because of this injury that's going to carry Edvinsson, through the Olympic break. Simon Edvinsson will be out through the Olympic break, not just until the Olympic break, with a lower body injury. So any thoughts on that as well? Because that was a significant update that we got just yesterday.
I mean, listen, we don't want to see injuries happen to any players, but if it's going to happen, this break now is able for him to get back in, get into shape, and get into the lineup. If this happened going into playoffs, that's devastating, but at least we get that time frame now where there's going to be an Olympic freeze, there's not going to be any roster moves, and he can finally get back to fully healthy without having to implicate going into the playoffs.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Let us know in the comments how you feel about that. And of course, it could lend some credits into maybe they trade for Justin Faulk. This is Jay Fresh Start. Let us know how you feel about trading for Justin Faulk in the comments below. They definitely have the cap space to make it work. But do you want to give up draft capital? Do you want to trade something off of your immediate roster? Probably a forward, because we know the Blues want something like that. They could use some depth at the blue line as well, and some younger pieces at the blue line. But let us know how you feel about all of that in the comments below. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button down below so you can stay up to date with everything going on with the Detroit Red Wings.